Welcome to Thoughts on Investing. Today, we're digging into a real head-scratcher from the stock market. How does a company that's at the absolute top of its game with blockbuster drugs everyone is talking about suddenly see its stock price completely collapse? It's a wild story, but it reveals a really crucial truth about how Wall Street actually thinks. So let's get right into it.
All right, before we jump in, you know the drill. This is all for educational purposes. It is not financial advice, so please always make sure to do your own research.
So here's the big question that this whole story revolves around. Just imagine a company that's reporting its best results ever. Record-breaking sales, everything's going great. How in the world does that same company lose billions, and I mean billions, of dollars in value literally overnight? It doesn't make any sense, right? Well, that is exactly what happened with Novo Nordisk.
And we are not talking about a small dip here, not a little blip on the radar. We're talking about an 18% plunge in a single day. Billions of dollars in value just gone. This is the kind of thing that makes the entire market just stop and ask, wait, what just happened?
To really understand the shock of that 18% drop, we have to see the whole picture. So let's rewind a little bit and start with the good news, because the company's performance in 2025 was, well, nothing short of stellar.
I mean, just look at their results for 2025. You can see why everybody was so optimistic. Net sales were up 10% and operating profit grew by 6%. For a company this massive, those are absolutely fantastic numbers. On the surface, it looks like everything was perfect.
And the engine driving all this incredible growth was no big secret. You've probably heard of it. It was the insane demand for their GLP-1 drugs, especially the weight loss treatment Wegovy. These drugs weren't just a medical success, they became a total cultural phenomenon, and that drove sales and profits through the roof. So far, so good, right?
But this is exactly where the story takes a sharp turn. Right after celebrating those amazing 2025 results, the company released its guidance, its forecast for 2026, and well, that's when the music stopped.
And just look at this contrast. It is absolutely night and day. On one side, you have the reality of 2025, fantastic growth. On the other side, the forecast for 2026, a sharp contraction. We're talking about sales and profit potentially falling by as much as 13%. For a company that had only known growth, this was a jaw-dropping reversal. So, the big question is, why? What on earth could cause such a dramatic U-turn? Well, the company was actually pretty upfront about the reasons. They saw some serious storm clouds gathering on the horizon. Let's break down what they were. First up, and this is a huge one, competition. For the longest time, Novo Nordisk was the king of the castle in this space. But a massive challenger has emerged in Eli Lilly, and they came to the fight with their own powerful drugs, Zepbound and Mounjaro. Suddenly, this isn't a one-horse race anymore. It is an all-out war between two titans, and Eli Lilly is aggressively stealing away market share.
But the competition was just one piece of this puzzle. The company was also getting squeezed on prices, especially in the huge U.S. market. Plus, some of their key patents are about to expire, which means cheaper generic versions are coming. And here's the real kicker. They basically admitted that even if they sell more of their drugs, they're being forced to cut prices so much that it's going to hurt their bottom line. The extra volume just couldn't make up for the lower prices.
So you can imagine you're an investor, right? You've got these incredible 2025 results in one hand and this terrifying 2026 forecast in the other. What do? Well, Wall Street was completely blindsided, and analysts were all over the place.
This quote, taken right from an analyst report, just sums up the mood perfectly. A surprise to the downside. See, nobody expected the crazy growth to last forever. Everyone was predicting a slowdown. But nobody, and I mean nobody, was forecasting that the company would actually go backward. This wasn't just a surprise, it was a genuine shock to the entire system. And that shock pretty much split investors into three different camps. You had the get me out now crowd, about 45% of them, who were driven by fear, and they're the ones who caused that massive sell-off. Then you had the wait and see group, who are just cautiously holding on, and finally, you had the bargain hunters, the long-term investors looking at this huge price drop and thinking, maybe this is a buying opportunity.
So what's the big lesson here for all of us? What can we take away from this whole dramatic story? It really all boils down to one of the most fundamental principles of investing. And that principle is this: the market doesn't care about yesterday. It only cares about tomorrow. A stock price isn't a trophy you get for a great year. It's a bet on what you're going to earn next year and the year after that.
Everyone already knew Novo Nordisk kind of killer 2025. That was old news, already baked into the price. The negative forecast for 2026, though, that was brand new, shocking information, and it forced everyone to completely reevaluate what the company's future was actually worth.
Which leaves us all with a big, unanswered million-dollar question, doesn't it? Is this brutal sell-off just a temporary storm that a great company like this can navigate through? Or does this mark a fundamental, permanent shift in the growth story for one of the world's most successful companies? The answer to that question is what will determine if today's stock price is a massive bargain or just a giant warning sign.
And that's the whole story. I hope you found this breakdown useful. If you did, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for tuning in.